So, welcome to the last session of our chapter number 8 called as project management, and now I am going to talk about how do I estimate the data science project. So, estimation of a data science project, how do I measure the estimation? Estimation can be in terms of a time, estimation can be in terms of the money, estimation can be in terms of the manpower used for developing a project, and estimation can be on the profit revenue too. So, what is generally meaning by the estimation of a data science project? So, if you need to explain the basic principle of forecasting to someone, ask them if they have ever worked on a software project. If so, they already know the basics of the forecasting. Everyone has worked on this estimation task. So, how much time I took to develop the software, how much money did I spend, what are the resources I have spent, and things like that. So, that totally comprises about the estimation. Everyone need estimation. Your customer need to them to have a plan and control then when they start to use the result of your project. The project manager need estimation to understand the scope, amount of work, and the approximate cost of an individual task for the entire project. So you can see that estimation is the whole crux of a project management at the last step. Okay, not actually last step, but is the foremost important step, because it tells you how many manpower you have been using, how many hours of the deployment you are using, and how much was the cost involved. So, estimation is necessary. So, estimation is beneficial in several areas such as following: understanding work structure. So, break down a task into multiple tasks to view the main step you need to complete. Understanding the complexity. While it is hard to estimate complex task by itself, each individual part can be a simplified one, and it will give you a how long the task is going to finish. Then most important is understanding the cost. So, in most business situations, you won't be able to start working on a project if you do not explain and defend its cost and the required resources available. So, costing is the most important one, and we as an engineering graduate are not very well versed with the costing costing of the project. So, the largest problem with the estimation is that they fail. So, I am not able to plan properly, I am not able to forecast my estimation correctly. So, our plans are inaccurate, incomplete, and often irrelevant to real work. So, even experienced software developers struggle to estimate the total amount of hours that it will take for a single task to finish unless they have done it multiple times before. So, estimation is essential, and research shows that humans are bad at absolute estimation. Our brain are simply not suited to make accurate mental model of complex multi-layer project. And for example, if we were asked to a bunch of strangers about the height of the nearest building, the majority will fail to give the correct answer. However, if you told them the height of several buildings, the estimation will be much more accurate. So this tells me a very good idea about the estimation. This is true not only for building a height estimation, but kind of all kinds of estimation. So, to use relatively simple estimate in a data science project, you need two things. Number one, relevant sample and good sampling, good estimation steps or process. We can think of relevant estimate as simplified statistical estimation for the longer process of a relevant. And to create such estimator, we need to have a collection of the data set. We follow a waterfall model, scrum model, whatever model we want to follow, and try to estimate the entire answer. So, we have two things to worry about: differentiating between business and implementation strategy. Business is different, implementation is different. Business has to make a profit, but how much does it cost to implement the system? Okay, so we can look at estimation from two perspectives. Number one, the first one will be familiar to the project manager and team manager who are mostly concerned with the project delivery. Implementation as perspective. So, when I want to deliver a project, I have to implement it completely and I have to go for a delivery. So, the main goal of estimate in this example is to provide correct expectation regarding how much time and money it will be required to build the solution. So, again coming to the same point, how much time, how much money, how much efforts will be required. So, another perspective is closely related with the business goal of the project. The goal is very simple and is often unseen by the implementation team. Every project is generally backed by a business model. So, I have to have a successful business model. When I go for a successful business model, my project has to be backed by a business team that fixes the expectation on the revenue increase, customer satisfaction, and reducing the cost, and so on and so forth. So, this is my business model. Earlier was the implementation model. So, business model should always be considered when you are creating implementation estimation. In data science project, business estimation can be included in the project by deriving a budget constraint from a business model and creating a set of business metric that evaluate my what we call the project performance. Okay. So, learning to make time and cost estimate. So, estimation require time, estimation also required how much is the cost. Okay. So, these are the basic principle of my estimation. Okay. And learning time and cost estimation. So, if we have a consulting firm or a consulting environment, then can I learn from the team how much it will cost, how fast it will be able to deliver. So, underlying principle is how much will this cost and how fast will be able to build it. Second point is how can we approach this if we know the limitation of our absolute estimation. So, with this a IT team or a people who are developing the software will know how much time it took, maybe 1 week, 2 week or 1 month, how many team members were playing the role, what are the tools available, what are the tools used, all those things comes as a cost comes under the estimation process. Okay. So, we start with the outline. The outline is a hierarchical list of a high level task that we will be need to complete. The simple outline for a waterfall project like this: collect the requirement. So, what the user want, what the customer want, implement the requirement, test the system and deploy. Very simple model is requirement analysis, do the implementation part, test the system and deliver it. Very simple waterfall model. Okay. So, using this approach is very easy, but this waterfall project is very risky. So, we will have to split into several subtasks which we go through a successive number of steps. So, this way we will be able to estimate much better. So, for example, let us look at outline of the requirement collection requirement. What are the software architecture I require? So, I will have to go with the non-functional requirement, I have to go with the functional requirement, I have to go with the component diagram, I have to go with the integration diagram. So, this is my all about the software. Then I have a functional requirement. Do I require a user interface? Do I require a user mockup? I require a backend service like a storage services or not, or data analysis services and model or not, or EDA services or not. So, this all listing put together give me a very good comprehensive idea about the estimation process. So, we can start with the rough step and can go with the final one. Okay. So, we will have a difficulty in decomposing some of the tasks. However, being unsure about an approach to a task is red flag, signifying that you need to communicate with your customer and figure out what it was. So, if you do not know how many system you will need to integrate it, you will have a hard time to decompose the bigger task into subtasks and manage the entire integration. So, in this case we need to call the customer and quickly discover the necessary information. However, you may have hundreds of such questions during the estimation process. So, it's a estimation process is a mind boggling process because it requires revenue, it requires man machine hours and it requires so many number of unhidden parameters too. So, it is always a good idea to prepare a numbered list of questions first, and answer can be changed during the estimation process. So, each question should be assigned a particular date and time so that your estimation becomes. So, ideally those questions should be shared on a formal basis to make the collaboration easy with the customer. So, with this we can outline the detail enough for the estimation. So, we can have a estimation, and during estimation you can say that my system or my project will be available 24/7 365 days, and if it is a downtime is there, then we will charge you depending upon the number hours of the downtime, and downtime will be less than 1% or 5%, something like that you have to put on the estimation too. So, this is how our estimation go. Okay. And we have a PERT diagram, or we call the project evaluation and review technique. So, we have two kinds of estimation, three kinds of estimation: optimistic, most likely and pessimistic. So, we use our traditional PERT methodology, which is your program evaluation and review technique. So, optimistic estimation, the time you plan to spend on the task; most likely the most realistic, and pessimistic long time. So these three methods are used for this thing, and we use the simple formula for our PERS estimation: optimistic estimate plus 4 multiplied by most likely plus pessimistic divided by 6. Okay, so 4 plus 1 plus 5 divided by 6, so take an average of it. So calculating the standard deviation also useful when it comes to making a confidence interval. So you can see that the standard deviation is very simple. You have a optimistic and you have a pessimistic. Take the difference between the two and divide by 6. So this way you can have a costing done or estimation done very easily, and this PER technique we already covered under the software engineering. So we have a what we call a try to register change of a estimation. So we have a electably, that is not to be avoided, or change or register inevitable to avoid. So whenever we are doing a estimation business, normally people try to avoid it, but avoidance is not an answer. We have to estimate, we have to do a project line, do the estimation, and periodically we have to revise our scheme of evaluation too. So project architecture vision should also be robust in terms of the changes and more customized your solution is, the less likely that it will create a ideal architecture in the future. Okay, and the survival for the scope will be changing. Plan ahead and include several variation point of the part of your solution that are most likely to change. A vacation point in a software development, like a set of software component, okay, that goes wrong, that going to change from the start. A plugin architecture also, or a microservices with a fixed contract, an example of a variation point, or more execution and extension substitution. So what we say that goal of estimation is very simple. Here what I am saying is basically you try to estimate all the points, try to do the estimation in terms of money, in terms of hour, in terms of the optimistic, in terms of the pessimistic view. And then we say discovering the goal of estimation process. We know the goal of the estimation process, ultimately to create a revenue generation. So with this I conclude my session. This gives you a overview about the estimation process, and we can use a PERT analysis, we can use a any kind of estimation technique which is available in the software estimation process. Thank you.